Evening, councillors and officers. We don't seem to have anybody, unsurprisingly, given the agenda, we don't have any members of the public watching tonight. But before I start, I need to still read this out. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's meeting of the Planning Applications Committee. Please note that the meeting is being filmed for a live stream available on the council's website, and a recording will be available after the meeting. We have tonight, as I've said, no public speaking items this evening, so not even any members of the public in attendance. Thank you. Right, are we happy to sign the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you. Declarations of interest, Councillor Moore.
There you go.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'll just. Oh, yeah, thanks, Ellie. Thank you, Chair. I'm declaring interest on agenda item 9 Amethyst Lane because my partner did an ecology survey. I wasn't expecting this to come back, so I'll be leaving early. Thanks.
You can get home a bit earlier than the rest of us. So rather than wait till the end, can I just tell everybody that we're still working through where next month's meeting is going to be held, because an upgrade finally in all this kit in here is going to be happening. So the council chamber won't be available for a little while in March, including the date of the next planning committee. So officers are just working through where we're going to hold that, and obviously people will be told as soon as possible, but it might be slightly less good, you know, just inevitably than perhaps this venue is, but we'll let you know. Okay, I do have, if there's no other declarations, I do have a question from Councillor Williams.
Thank you very much, Chair. Is a climate emergency declaration a material consideration in planning decisions?
Thank you. That's thank you for a good question. I think it's been of interest to all of us, actually. There are effectively two considerations in determining planning applications. One, whether something is a material consideration, and two, if it is, what weight is to be given in the overall planning balance. Material considerations. In determining planning applications, priority is to be given to the development plan, in that applications must be determined in accordance with it unless material considerations indicate otherwise. Climate change and mitigating for its effects can be a material consideration. For example, a recent case in Medway, in determining an application for a house extension, the council did not consider it material that the extension would overshadow a neighbour's solar panels. The court held that this was incorrect. The solar panels made a contribution to reduction in reliance on non-renewable energy, and the effect on them, even minimal, was therefore a material planning consideration which should have been taken into account. However, the fact that the council has made a climate change declaration is not a material consideration, in that the declaration itself does not have any effect in legal or policy terms, being essentially a statement of belief and intent and a call for government action. It is likely that issues relating to climate change and mitigation for it will already be covered by relevant policies in the development plan, and so will already be material as part of the plan. For example, policy CC2, Sustainable Design and Construction, supports development where the design of building and site layouts use energy, water, minerals, materials and other natural resources appropriately, efficiently and with care, and take account of the effects on climate change. Secondly, the policy CC3, adaptation to climate change, requires a development to demonstrate how they have been designed to incorporate measures to adapt to climate change. It is relevant to note that the council carried out a review of the local plan in March 2023, which identified changes to a number of current policies to better reflect the climate emergency. The council is currently consulting on a local plan partial update as a step to achieve this. It is also relevant that the Levelling Up and Regeneration Act of 2023 includes provisions which will strengthen the current primacy of the development plan. Planning applications will need to be determined in accordance with the development plan unless material considerations strongly indicate otherwise. Those provisions are not yet active, but are expected to start later this year. weight. Once it has been determined that a factor is a material consideration, whether part of the development plan or otherwise, a planning judgment is then required. The decision makers must determine the weight to be given to all material considerations to reach an overall conclusion as to the planning balance. Although it is not a material consideration in its own right, the climate emergency declaration can affect the weight which decisions makers decide to give to relevant policies. For example, the declaration would justify placing more weight on policies which relate to climate change to address the climate emergency. So in summary, the climate change itself is not a material consideration, but the Council's climate energy declaration is, climate change is a material consideration, but the Council's climate emergency declaration is not a material consideration in planning decisions. The Council already has policies which are intended to address climate change and mitigation for it. Those policies are currently under review, with one aim being to better reflect the declaration. However, the declaration is relevant in determining the weight which is given to the material considerations in making planning decisions, in that it can be a justification for giving more weight to climate change issues. And at the bottom of the answer, there's the decision I mentioned in Medway, if people wanted to look at that. Thank you. Have you got a supplementary?
No, thank you very much, Chair. I've been lobbied not to do a supplementary to not extend the meeting, but the truth is, I'm very grateful. I think that's a really clear answer that picks through a difficult sort of set of constructions for us. So thank you very much.
I think we've all found it very useful as well to get it well clarified. So thank you for that. Right, we now go on to potential site visits. Page 13, Richard Eatoff is going to introduce that.
Thank you, Chair. There's an item that should have popped up on the list actually and hasn't under potential site visits. It's application 240063/Reg3. So it's council own application, and it's for the development known as the Hex Studio, which is the extension to the Hexagon Theatre. We are at the moment, that application is valid, consultations are well underway, and we're hoping to bring this to your next meeting. In anticipation of that, if you do wish for there to be a site visit, officers suggest that you might want to make that unaccompanied, and we can make arrangements for that. So that's the first one.
Okay, is everybody happy with that? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so that's unaccompanied then. And just a quick commentary on the other two on the list there. I know they've been there for some while. 230745 Great Brugham's Mead. The officer advises me that there are a number of issues still outstanding on that one. We are waiting for some more amended plans, and it wouldn't be much use for the committee to go visiting that one until you've had the amended plans in front of you. Otherwise, you'd probably be ending up doing it twice. Application 231041 is the Portman Road application. I think it's for 80 apartments on the Tesco Extra car park fronting Portman Road. That one is not as far advanced. There are lots of outstanding issues at the moment. We don't have an officer recommendation, and we don't know what needs to change and what doesn't need to change on that one. So we're quite a long way off from providing a briefing note on that one, I'm afraid. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else got anything else they wanted to say about planning site visits? No? Okay, thank you. So we'll note that. Wait to hear. Can we go on to the planning appeals? Quite a lot on this particular report this time. Richard again.
Yes, thank you, Chair. On the lodged appeals, you've got 248 Basingstoke Road there. For people who know, it's the John Cleese hi-fi unit. So since your last meeting, we have 6 decided appeals. That's 1 allowed and 5 dismissed. And because it's a light agenda, we took the opportunity, Chair, of preparing 3 appeal reports this time. So just give you a quick summary of those which are on your agenda. Page 21 is 2 Adelaide Road. This was a dismissal of a prior approval under Class ZA to demolish a workshop building and construct a new dwelling. The issues were character of the area, design and amenity, where the inspector basically upheld all of the council's concerns. From page 25, dismissed appeal at 37 Hillcott Road. This is demolition of another workshop. This time it was a refusal of planning permission, and they wanted to erect a building creating 3 dwellings. The issues with this one were the context, design, character of the area, and in this case, unsuitable outlook and daylight, and poor living conditions. On this one, affordable housing in the end was not an issue for the inspector because the appellant did as instructed, and they provided a unilateral undertaking which took away that reason for refusal, but otherwise the inspector agreed with all the council's issues. And the last one is from page 29, is a telecoms type application. It is in fact a full planning application. This was the dismissal of a mast at the junction of Honey End Lane at the junction of Cottney Hill in Tilehurst. The main issue was the harm to the character of the area and the great scale of this mast in relation to surrounding buildings. The inspector did not, however, agree with officers that there was an impact on the historic setting of Prospect Park, which, as you probably know, is a historic park and garden. I think he felt there were too many intervening structures, and he didn't agree with that side of it. But otherwise, again, it's upheld. Just to note, at the end of that report from page 32, there is a table showing summary details of all telecoms applications which have gone to appeal and the results. These are these prior approval type ones. As you can see, overall the dismissal rate is high. Just to add, though, this doesn't include others where you actually need a full planning application. So incidentally, the Honey End Lane one is a full one, so it's not on that list. They are less common. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody? Councillor Moore. Hopefully, when they've done this work in here, we will not be doing this next time we're in here.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to comment just quickly on the 37 Hillcott Road refusal. Really pleased to see that was clear cut. For those not aware, this is the current location of Reading Men's Shed, which is a workshop to address specifically mental health issues in older retired men. I went and visited along with the mayor at that open day earlier in the last year, and they made me aware this was something that the applicant has been trying to do for a while without much success. So, and they haven't been able to find any new. They are actively looking for new premises in case, and I realise this isn't the planning consideration, but it's good that at least for the time being they will not be chucked out of their premises because it's a very vital resource to that demographic. Thank you.
Williams, you were next, I think.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly from me, there was one in Park Ward which I was interested to read through. I just wanted to thank officers because when they make their decisions, they professionally support them with a suite of reasons for refusal. And almost every time those reasons are tested by the inspector, they're proven correct and we win those. And thank you really to the planning team for doing all the due diligence on each of these applications. Yeah, and I'm always interested to read these reports as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowland.
I just actually wanted to thank Councillor Moore for pointing out that item on Hillcott Road, because I've also spoken with them at great detail, and I actually was very pleased with this decision too. Yeah, it just has never smacked as being the right thing from the get-go, and so I was really, really pleased with it, and very supportive of a really wonderful group that does a lot of really, really great work. Yeah.
Councillor Hornsby Smith.
Are you going to thank someone? No, I'm not going to thank someone, but thank you anyway. But what I wanted to ask about is one of the applications that's not on this list, and I just wondered what stage it was at, which is the application for one of these at the junction between Buckland Road and Long Barn Lane, which, I mean, I know I put in an objection to it because it was very, very close to residential dwelling. And I don't know if it's even gone to appeal or whether the officers have turned it down. So I just wondered if probably outside the meeting, I don't mind if I can get an update on that.
Happy to do that outside the meeting, Councillor Hornsby Smith. Yes.
Okay, Councillor Lang.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I too would like to congratulate officers on their appeal successes. Down in the south of Reading, we're probably less successful, and of course we support the 5G rollout, but I repeat myself, as I said in the last committee, I wish they would take into consideration when they're near residential. I mean, particularly the one on Whitleywood Lane is right next to, I think it's semi-sheltered accommodation. And it'd be interesting to see what happens further north in the south with the Butland Long Barn Lane one, see where that goes. So thank you. The Pepper Lane one is more understandable because it's close to commercial and quite a distance away from residential. I accept that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, not seeing anybody else. And I just add as ward councillor for Norcott Ward for the Honey and Lane Cottney Hill application. That really delighted to see that one come through, and the list that we've been provided with is also really helpful. But we need to keeping an eye on these, obviously down the track, and see where these other ones get to. And can I also add my thanks to officers for their hard work in defending our decisions, and mostly it's been not quite a sort of. We only lost one this time, so the 5 that we did win were really really pleasing to see. So thank you very much to everybody involved in that. Okay, anything else? In which case, can we note that and go on to prior approval? Richard again.
I have nothing to add. Thank you, Chair.
Anybody got anything they wanted to ask about prior approval? No, thank you. Should we note that then? Thank you. Which takes us on to the planning applications, the first one being item 7 on page 41, and James Schofield's here to introduce this. Thank you, James.
Hello. Okay. So this is an application for certificate of lawfulness for proposed development under permitted development rights. It's been called in. Absolutely. How did you hear any of that? Okay. All right. It's been called in as the applicant Ella Ormerod is related to a member of the council. The proposed development accords with classes A, B, and C Part 1, Schedule 2 of the General Permitted Order 2015.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? No, in which case we're not being asked to consider an application. It's just to agree that this is something that can be approved under, sorry, I'm turn back the page now, under permitted development rights. So can we agree that? Thank you very much. And that takes us on to item 8, which is land adjacent to Hills Meadow off George Street in Caversham. And Natalie Weeks is here to present that. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Chair. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, that's good. So this application is a request to vary the planning conditions for a temporary car wash and associated buildings on land adjacent to Hills Meadow Car Park. Temporary planning permission was originally granted in 2014 and for 3 years, and then extended in 2018 for a further 5 years. A case is being made again to enable planning permission to be granted for a temporary extension of time for a period of 5 years. It should be noted that a large temporary awning and additional timber-clad shed have been added to the site, which require planning permission. The site is also in need of general redecoration. The applicant has changed since the last planning application. The new owner has agreed to comply with a number of conditions requiring strict compliance within 3 months of a permission, if granted, to mitigate the harm to the major landscape feature in which it's located at the corner of the car park and next to the skate park. Conditions proposed require general maintenance works, additional landscaping and maintenance, provision of refreshments and access to a public toilet, in addition to previous conditions which related to the occupation and operation of the site, noise and impact of development. It's proposed to recolour the awning a dark green colour. It would be RAL 6005. I've put a picture up on the slide. It does look a bit dark in this light, but it is a sort of a green, dark green colour. so to paint it to be more in keeping with the woodland and green bund to the rear adjacent to the site. Additional landscape planting is proposed at the entrance of the site to improve its appearance, with mulch provided for all trees planted on site. The awning structure is large, however, it's considered to retain an open view of the site with views to the woodland at the rear. No further development is proposed. The site is an ecological and biodiversity sensitive site in a designated landscape feature, which requires a general openness of the site. It's important to note that the structures on site aren't designed to be permanent. They're not brick and they're not mortar. It is a temporary use, providing the car wash and the space to dry the cars. It will be providing public facilities, and the site is protected by EN 13, the major landscape features and area of outstanding natural beauty, and policy EN 7, the local green space and public open space, which is looking to protect that green area, open area. Previous applications at the site were reported to the Planning Applications Committee, and due to the council's interest in the land, officers consider it appropriate to bring the determination of this application to your meeting for a decision. On balance, the case officer has recommended approval for a 5-year temporary extension. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody? Richard Davis, sorry, Councillor Davis.
Thank you for that.
Councillor.
I didn't thank anyone earlier, but I'm thanking everyone now. And thank you for showing us the colour, which is often I see moss that colour all over the place. That's a very common moss colour. This has been in place for a number of years now. It's like 2015, 2016, something like that. I remember it coming when I was early on in my when I was a councillor for this area, and it strikes me as a reasonable use of this bit of the what's essentially a car park. I'm not sure if Arthur Hill, who donated this land, had this in his vision for the land, but things have changed a lot over 120 years, whatever it is. And in fact, there are some improvements coming. So some of the objections that people have brought up over the years being this kind of an urbanisation, industrialisation of a meadow, which I almost doesn't really fit into that classic definition of a meadow. There are some this addresses some of those things and does have some environmental improvements. And in addition, there are some amenities that are brought along, and things like public toilets in that area. And then it has been mentioned to me that actually having a permanent staff or having a presence on site does maybe deter some of the crime in the car park as well. So on the whole, I'm happy for this to be approved, and I would support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? In which case, can I see all those in favour of the recommendation to grant this? Thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you. And now we've also got the extra item that was sent round regarding Amethyst Lane, and I'll ask Richard to just explain this to us. Thank you.
I've just been advised I need to wait for Councillor Moore.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Chair. This report relates to the proposed redevelopment of the council-owned Amethyst Lane site to provide 17 houses and respite care centre. The report to your 6th of December committee unfortunately incorrectly refers to the proposed affordable housing as being Reading affordable rent tenure. The applicant in fact proposes the tenure to be social rent. Social rents are lower than Reading affordable rents, and therefore the change is considered to be acceptable in terms of meeting housing need, but it did need to be reported back to your meeting, I'm afraid. So the report sets out the recommended changes to the section 106 heads of terms for your approval, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody want to comment? No, we're happy to agree that then. Thank you very much. And that's it. Don't expect it to be so quick next time. Oh, sorry, Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to say my apologies for turning up late this evening. There was bad traffic on George Street. I did send a message to Councillor Goss, only to find out he is being severely delayed in London getting here. So apologies on his behalf, but also on mine. Thank you.
Seems to have been a week of delayed travel. We had several of our group delayed for many hours getting back from London on Monday. So yeah, thanks for that. Right, thank you all. Good night.